Was King Solomon black? The simple answer is we don't really know. Looking at the ethnic groups currently living in West Asia, he might have been a shade of brown, darker or lighter. So why do some people claim that he was black?
Well, there is the Song of Solomon. When reading the English versions, there is the first verse attributing the book to Solomon, and only a few verses after that, in number 5, we see I am black. This can easily lead to a conclusion that Solomon was indeed black, due to the sheer proximity of the two units of text.
Luckily, the Hebrew original can give us a conclusive answer for this instantly. But before going into this further, if you're new to this channel, I'm Ilan, a native Hebrew speaker and have some 20 years working with languages as a professional translator. An important note for this specific episode: I know the topic discussed this time is more sensitive. Let me be clear. It's not my intention to make any statement about race or race relations, at least not referring to the present. You'll see what I mean later. The objective of this video is to present one of many examples where reading the Tanakh or the Old Testament in Hebrew can give us important information that is otherwise lost in translation.
Returning to the question of whether King Solomon was black or not, let's go back to the Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5, but this time in Hebrew. As a native speaker, it jumps right at me. This is a woman saying she is black. In order to understand this, note first that black in English applies to both males and females, and even plural. So when reading a sentence like I'm black, it's actually impossible to tell the gender of the speaker. In Hebrew, on the other hand, adjectives like black are always gendered. Note this letter at the end. It's Hey. This is the 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, at the same spot as E, but it often has an H sound. Here it is silent, used only for grammatical purposes. The letter Hey is very much linked to the feminine in Hebrew, and many adjectives and nouns ending with it are female in our language. Note that the male version of black in Hebrew does not have this letter. There are also versions for female plural and male plural. And we see that verse 5 uses the female singular variant of the adjective. By the way, the word is pronounced shchora or shechora, while the male is shachor. The relevant part of the verse reads shchora ani venava.
So, according to Hebrew grammar, this is decisively a woman speaking, a fact not available to readers of the English versions. Therefore, this specific verse does not indicate that King Solomon, a male, was black.
There is another thing about the translation I'd like to focus on. Look at this letter here. It's Vav, and when appearing at the beginning of words, it usually serves as a prefix for the English conjunction end, like in hakelev vehechatul, the dog and the cat. This is the most basic Hebrew. Yet, in most English versions, this Vav is translated differently as another conjunction, but. In an attempt to understand why, let's focus for a moment on the other adjective, nava, since this can be important. In modern Hebrew, this is a very high register option to say beautiful or fair when referring to a woman. And indeed, my fair lady was translated into Hebrew using that word. However, if we want to get the meaning exclusively from the Bible, we can base our conclusion on another verse in the Song of Solomon, and it can be inferred that Nava is indeed beautiful. It appears then that the speaker in the verse is saying two positive things about herself, probably relating to her looks and or demeanor. So why do most English translations of verse 5 say black but comely or lovely? Is there a reason for that? To be sure, the letter Vav can be used to contrast between two situations, like in Psalms 1:6. Nevertheless, note that the two realities described, for the righteous and for the wicked, are not overriding each other, but rather coexisting. So in fact, the but can very well be replaced by and. This is also the case with shchora, ani, venava, since black and beautiful do not contrast each other.
My conclusion, based on reading the Hebrew, is therefore that the correct translation should be I am black and beautiful. So why was the and replaced by but? My speculation, and it's purely a speculation, is that when the King James Version was compiled in the early 1600s, the social norm in England was that the whiter, the prettier. Hence, it might be that translators of the era perceived black and beautiful as conflicting. I personally can't think of any other explanation to account for that because the Hebrew is kind of clear. If you have another idea, please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.